Following the video that I just did on that laundromat Karen chick, I said, you know what, let me just go ahead and do a follow-up commentary just talking about or breaking down the First Amendment, since many people don't seem to grasp how that works. And I said I initially was going to throw it into the commentary that I did about the woman, but I said, nah, I don't need to overextend the commentary more than it needs to be. Then I thought about doing it into a live stream, but I said to myself, nah, I have time. Let me go ahead and just turn it into a pre-recorded video. So I decided to go on to Google and I just typed in, what does the First Amendment protect? Because remember, a lot of people mainly, and this is mainly for PC, because they're the ones that abuse it the most and think that they have it all figured out, but they don't. And simple research is there for them to do, but they don't do it. So I said, let me go ahead and do it myself. And, you know, hopefully my audience and even those who aren't my audience can take something away from this. I just wanted to go on there and I typed in, what does the First Amendment protect? And then it actually brought up, of course, what the First Amendment is, which is what I'm going to go over now. And then it broke down what it protects and what it does not protect. So let's start with the basics. What is the First Amendment? The First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects the freedom of speech. And let me tell you something. That's the part that then they just stop right there. When they hear freedom of speech, that's all that they deal with. And they don't go past anything past that. Now, PPOW says the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution protects the freedom of speech, which means individuals have the right to express their opinions and ideas without fear of government interference or retaliation. Now, notice what's highlighted. Individuals have the right to express their opinions and ideas without fear of government interference or retaliation. The key words there is government interference and retaliation. It doesn't say everyday citizen interference or retaliation. That means that if you use your freedom of speech against the everyday citizen and they're not attached to the government as far as a big government official or a big political figure attached to the government, whatever happens after that will just simply happen. We say freedom of speech, but there's also freedom of consequence. And that's the part right there that they don't seem to grasp, is that part right there. The government, you're protected, your freedom of speech is protected against government retaliation interference. It doesn't say that the average everyday citizen doesn't have a right to check you for your so-called freedom of speech. Because after all, the everyday person didn't write it up. It says this protection extends to various forms of expression, including spoken words, written works, and even symbolic actions like burning a flag. However, the First Amendment does not protect all forms of speech, particularly those that incite violence, are defamatory, obscene, or involve fraud. Now you can look at that part right there and see which one Shiloh Hendricks falls under and why many people were clapping back against her, even despite how the usual suspects felt about it. Now, what's interesting is the part about the burning of the flag. Because remember, there was a time years ago when people were burning the flag and a lot of PC was getting upset about it because, you know, they so patriotic, or as I like to call them, fake patriotic, and was upset about why nothing was happening. Well, that's because under the First Amendment, they had a right to do so. And the government could not interfere. So really, the only people that could be, that was in PC, that was you using your First Amendment right then. So if you wanted to, quote unquote, attack the person doing that, you would have been able to do so and the government wouldn't have gotten involved. But see, it's like y'all used it then with the flag burning thing, but now it seems like y'all don't understand how it works. It's the weirdest thing. But now that I broke down what it is, let's go into what does the First Amendment protect. So the first thing that it states is right to express opinions. The freedom of speech allows individuals to share their beliefs, ideas, and opinions without fear of punishment or censorship from the government. Key words, from the government. That's the part right there that the people who abuse and overuse the freedom of speech amendment, the First Amendment, they consistently leave that part out when it comes to the government. So that means you can say whatever you want. and the government will not interfere. However, be careful who you express your opinions to and your views and thrust your views upon, because they may not agree. And you can throw out that freedom of speech thing, but if they decide to go against what you're saying, you can't say I'm protected under free speech. You're only protected from the government interfering, not someone else. The next one says right to receive information. The First Amendment also protects the right to access information and ideas, even if one doesn't speak out themselves, says the Free Speech Center. Basically just saying whatever information you decide to seek, whether it's right or wrong, you have the right to do so. And you decide, and if you decide to go with it, whether it's a lie or the truth, that is entirely on you. As a matter of fact, PC, y'all should be glad that that's there, because many of you be propagandizing a lot of things. And I'm talking about the white supremacists. Y'all propagandize a lot of things. So y'all better be glad that that right to receive information is there, because a lot of the stuff that y'all get about us is so false. But because of freedom of speech, the government can't interfere with that. However, again, if you put that upon someone that you're using this against, and they decide to retaliate, hey, that's on them and that's on you. Protection against government interference, which is basically the foundation of it. This is the First Amendment prevents the government from enacting laws that would limit freedom of speech. And that, again, that goes back to the foundation. In the first part that I read about freedom of speech, it's right there. The government can't interfere with your freedom of speech or your right to protest and all types of stuff like that. It's on you. That's basically what it is. Again, freedom of speech means the government doesn't interfere with that. But the people who are not the government, and mind you, it's more of the people than it is of the government, if they have something to say against it, they have every right to, and the government can't even interfere with that. That's why when I be seeing PC online talking about or tagging Trump and different government officials and stuff like that, I'm like, are y'all dumb? What can Trump do? He's a top government official. He's the head. He's the face. What is he going to do? What can he possibly? He can't do anything. If Trump was to come out and do something at your request because people didn't like what you had to say, he would be violating your First Amendment right. Do y'all not understand that? He would actually be violating the First Amendment, period. The next one is protection of symbolic speech. Expressing an idea through actions, such as burning a flag, can be protected under the First Amendment as long as it's done peaceably and doesn't incite violence. So basically, if a person is burning a flag in their yard and they record it and put it online, the people can get upset about it, but the government can't interfere because it's not inciting violence. They're doing it on their property. So, and the thing is, they like, hey, they bought the flag. The company they bought it from already got the money. So what you do with it is on you. They already got paid. You can burn it. You can throw it in the pool. You can wrap yourself in it, all types of stuff, which I find funny because when they be doing, a lot of PC want to be so patriotic, they want to wrap themselves in the flag and then thinks that only burning the flag is somehow unpatriotic or un-American. No, they say you shouldn't drape yourself in it either. Or did y'all not read that part as well? I'm telling you, the picking and the choosing is very, very heavy upon that ilk. Now let's go to the last part of what the First Amendment protects. Protection of a wide range of expression. The First Amendment protects various forms of expression, including spoken words, written words, artistic expression, and even symbolic actions, notes the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Basically, if you're doing poetry, if you're doing anything, it says symbolic or any type of expression or how you feel about a certain thing, even if you'll go against it, you're still protected and the government can't interfere with that. Now, again, like I've said, and I'm gonna sound like a broken record as this video goes on, so bear with me. If the public feels some type of way about it, hey, it is what it is. That is your First Amendment right to feel some type of way, and the government cannot interfere, which means if someone says something you don't like, don't run to Twitter and start tagging your government officials or Trump or anything like that, because they're going to look at you like you're crazy if they even look at the tweet at all. Don't be sending no emails. Don't be calling, snitching and saying so-and-so said this and that. What are they going to do? What can they do? As long as it's not a threat on your life or bringing any type of harm, technically they're not violating anything. So now that we've gone over what the First Amendment protects, let's go over what the First Amendment does not protect. So the first thing that the First Amendment does not protect is incitement to imminent lawless action. Speech that is intended to incite violence or illegal activity is not protected. Remember what Shiloh Hendrix did and what she said to that 5-year-old boy. That is why many people reacted the way they did, basically saying that if you decide that you're going to go ahead and say that to that child, then it is what it is. But in the case where the government would have to get involved is if you make a threat on a major government official's life. Now y'all are starting to see where this is coming in. So you can say whatever it is that how you feel about any, like a president or a governor or anything like that. You're not protected under that. Look at what Cody Balmer recently did at the governor's mansion to Josh Shapiro. While he didn't say anything specifically about Josh Shapiro, harming him, he did try to harm him in a way where it could have took him and his family out by setting a fire to the governor's mansion early in the morning while he and his family were in the house. So when they deal with Cody Balmer, he's going to be hit with some heavy, and I do mean heavy charges, federal charges and state charges at that. So he would not be protected under that situation. And also why would he? Because he committed arson. So that's even beyond the scope of violating freedom of speech. But again, you can say whatever you want, but as long as it doesn't incite violence, you're good. The next one says defamation. False and malicious statements that harm someone's reputation are not protected. Basically just saying something about someone that's not even true, or something that could ruin, like they said, their reputation. Anything that they have going, if you mess that up, whether it's a job, whether it's your business, money, something that could hurt you in the long run or even in the short term, that is not protected by freedom of speech or the First Amendment. The next one is obscenity. Content that is considered sexually explicit and lacks serious literacy, artistic, political, or scientific value is not protected according to the L2. I hope that is an L2 or not LLII. Someone can let me know that down in the chat. Basically, they said obscenity, that pretty much speaks for itself. Anything that is considered sexually explicit in nature, or anything that, like they say, lacks serious literacy, or anything like that can be taken as genuine or I can say organic, that is not seen as freedom of speech and is not protected. I should say under it. The next one is true threats. Speech that intends to threaten violence or harm is not protected. I think that one is pretty much self-explanatory. Like if you threaten somebody or an organization, that's self-explanatory. I feel like I don't even have to break that down. A fifth grader could figure that one out. Fraud. False statements made with the intent to deceive others are not protected. And there's a lot of fraudulent people out here, and with money, with identities, all types of stuff. That is not protected under the First Amendment. And the last one, and I think this one is very interesting, fighting words. Words that are likely to provoke an immediate violent reaction are not protected. And this is the one right here where PC really messes up. When I keep telling you, y'all can say that N-word all you want. You can say it online, behind closed doors, in the comfort of your own home, or in your peer group, in your echo chamber, anywhere where you feel like you are safe, in your little safe pocket. But however, if you decide to go outside of that echo chamber or that pocket or that safe space, and you say that to the wrong person, you're not protected under the First Amendment law. You're not protected. So y'all better tread lightly when it comes to how you want to flail or throw that word out there into the ether and think that everything is just going to be okay. And don't think for a second that you can just run and say, oh, freedom of speech, and like I thought I was protected. No, you were not. Because saying that N-word to some people will be considered to be fighting words. Now there is one last piece that is under here. I don't think it's not anything that's talking about what's protected and not protected, but it was something else they mentioned that I want to throw in here as well before I end the video off. So we have this part right here that says important considerations. It says context matters and balancing of rights. Context matters. It says the level of protection afforded to speech can depend on the context in which it is made, such as whether it is being made in public or a private setting. Going back to what I said about with that N-word. If you say it in a private setting, hey, the person can be upset, but I mean, what can you do? You can't like go after the person because they said that word in a private setting, because it's like they're in their privacy. However, if you decide to go in public with it, then it's free reign. It's free range. Like, it is what it is, because now you've now put it out on display for the public to hear it, and you wanted them to hear it. But if you're at home or you're on the phone or you're texting somebody or whatever it is, that's a private conversation in the privacy or whatever. It is what it is. Like, for instance, remember that video that I did where that family, I forgot where they were at, and they were sitting there talking around, about black people, and they said the N-word so many times. It was the guy, and it was like some other men in the video and some women. It might piss some people off, but however, black people who might feel froggy about it can't go after them because of what? They were in the privacy of their own dwellings. Even though the video was recorded and put online for public consumption, they were not out in public when they said it. So if anyone was to quote unquote just attack them or go to their home, the person who did it, they would be in the wrong. However, if they're outside in a setting and they were to do that and someone heard it and got offended behind it and it got into an altercation, that's a whole nother thing. At which point the person who said it is not protected. And the last thing says balancing of rights. Freedom of speech must be balanced against other rights, such as the right to privacy and the protection of individuals from harm. So that's, pretty much it. And like I said, and I'm glad they said balancing the rights, because that First Amendment and that Second Amendment is the two that PC loves the most. Of course, the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. But right now, that freedom of speech one, that's the one that they are in lust with. And when it comes to this word, that is the one right there where they feel like they have every right to say it if we say it. And that's not how this works. And besides, they want to say it with the ER. I don't know many or if any black person that goes around saying that word with the ER at the end of it. But that's the one that they want to say, and they come up with the whole thing of, oh, well, rappers say it. Oh, they say it in these movies. I mean, y'all heard all the lines and excuses that they've given out before as to why they want to say it. And it's like, if you want to say it, you can say it. The First Amendment right is protecting you if you say, especially if you say it in private. It's not saying that you can't say it. However, it's not going to protect you if you say it in public around people that are going to feel some type of way about it. So you have to really balance this thing out and consider what it is that you really want to do. Do you want to say the word, or do you not want to say the word? A lot of them want to say it, but they're scared to say it because they know the repercussions that could come behind it. And some of them just don't care. But it is what it is. I leave that up to them. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.